Yo, what's up? Alright, so today we're going to learn how to set up the NetherCube Parkour plugin for Minecraft Ice Boat Racing time trialing. So you're going to need access to the console. We're going to go over how to first get the .jar files into the plugin, or into the server itself. So first you're going to want to go to your file manager in the console, and you're going to want to find your plugins folder. If you do not have a plugins folder yet, you can go ahead and create a new one. I believe it should be create directory, and then it should be just do plugins, and then create directory. That should create a new folder. And then, once you enter the plugins folder, each plugin actually has a .jar file, which is kind of like where they run all the data, or where they run all the processing and stuff. And then you also have the folders, which is these folders, which correspond to each of these plugins, hold the data. So, for instance, in CommandRegions, which is one of the plugins that you're actually going to need, it's going to hold the data on all the regions that it wants to keep track of. So yeah, the two plugins that you're going to need for this system to work are CommandRegions and of course NetherCube Parkour. I will link these two plugins in the description, or you can go to our Discord channel, Discord server, which I'll also link in the description, to ask for the most recent version of NetherCube Parkour. Alright, yeah, so actually we're going to start right now with doing some general NetherCube Parkour config things. For instance, right now, I spawned in this random location in the middle of nowhere, and I have a barrier block that I might not want to have, and so on. Like, for instance, if I wanted to move my inventory, I can't. That's also part of the NetherCube plugin. So we're going to go ahead and disable these things right now. So we're going to go over to the console, and we're going to go over to NetherCube Parkour. And in this, there's going to be a data.yml and a config.yml. We never really look at the data.yml, we're just going to look at the config.yml. Inside it, there's a bunch of random stuff. So there are a few things that we're going to want to look at. Prevent inventory movement is basically when you're in adventure mode or survival mode. Like I said, you can't move your inventory at all, right? So yeah, that was survival mode. In adventure mode, you also can't move it. So to disable that, you're going to want to do prevent inventory movement on line 12, make that false. And once you do that, you'll notice that it still does not update, right? You can still not move your inventory. So what you have to do is save the content. So now it's updated inside the server itself, and as you can see, you still can't move it. But now if we do parkour admin reload, then we should be able to move it, right? So now I can move my inventory. I am in adventure mode, now I'm going to be in survival mode, and I can still move my inventory. Once you get adventure mode, still move my inventory. So that's how you get around that. Next, we're going to go ahead and do clear inventory on join. So if I go ahead and I go to creative mode, I have my say hotbar, whatever, and then I log out, and then I come back. So you can see that my inventory was cleared, and it now has just a barrier. To prevent that, you go to line 13 of the config and change that true to false. And then when we go ahead and save content and reload the NetherCube Parkour, so parkour admin, reload, it would go ahead and do it. I'm going to wait to do that for a while, and we'll get back to that. Then finally, as you see that I have a restart map barrier block in the middle of my hotbar, we can go ahead and disable that and not give it to the players by going to line 14 and changing that to false. So now it should be good. And as you can see, also, we are spawning in the middle of nowhere. We're spawning at 0, 0. And to change that, you're going to want to go ahead and go to here and change the lobby location based on where you want it. If you're using Multiverse, the Multiverse plugin, you should be familiar with NV lists and stuff. And, oh god. Yeah, so basically, it defaults to spawning you at 0, 0 in world, so like the default world. However, in this case, for this server, we want to spawn at boots running 2. So we're going to go ahead and go, we actually already have it set up at /spawn. So we want to start here, right? So we're going to take, the, oh god, the chords here, so 146, 63, 17, and we're going to put these into the config. So negative 146, 63, 17, negative 17, 63, -17, and it's important that we specify boots running 2 on right about here. So we're going to go ahead and specify that. Boots running 2. Boots running 2. I spelled it right. Alright. You can also actually disable this feature. If you don't want the people to spawn at spawn every single time, you should just be able to change onJoin to false. For right now, we're going to keep the true to make sure that works. And we're going to go ahead and do a parkour admin reload and rejoin. Okay, so we've reloaded. We'll be right back. Hope they don't get banned. And as you can see, yeah. Actually, so how coordinates work is that, let's see if I can actually, yeah, so for right now, we're just going to do this. You can see that we have these 3 chords, they're really simple, right? And then we also have these 3 chords, which are basically these ones, but a little bit more advanced, you can see with the 3 decimal places. So basically how it works is that the config actually uses the more advanced 3. So if you stand in the middle of a block, it's actually at negative, you add 0.5 blocks to it. So as you can see, these 3 say negative 146, 17, but really what the XYZ, the more advanced ones are, is negative 145.5 and negative 16.5, because we add 0.5 to each of these blocks. So for instance, if we go to, I don't know, 200, yeah, no, we have to do this. 200, 160, right? Right, so like we're over here, right? So the block says 199.69, nice. But if we look at the XYZ, it's actually 199.5 and 69.5. So it's always just a positive increase of 0.5. That means that if you're at negative X, like negative 144, it's going to be 143.5. And if you're at a positive 144, it's going to be 144.5. So keep that in mind when setting up the NetherParkour plugin config. That also applies for stuff that we'll discuss later. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and add positive 0.5 to each of these. So it's going to be 145.5 and negative 16.5. We're going to go ahead and save. Parkour admin reload. Relog. And now we're standing at the center of the block. Finally, in the config, if you do not want to force people to spawn here every single time, for instance, if I run over here and I relog, you can see I spawn here again. If you do not want that to happen, and if you instead want people to spawn back right here on re-entering, you can go ahead and just change this onJoin to false at line 6 of the config. So now if you save content and do a parkour admin reload, and then relog, you should see that I spawned right back here. Also, as we changed earlier, it should not give us a barrier block in line 5 or slot 5 of our hotbar, and it should keep our inventory. Let's go ahead and change that, or let's go ahead and test that. And as you can see, I joined back right in the same spot with my same inventory. And yeah, if you want to do this, you don't want to be specific. It also saves your inventory, not just your hotbar. You can see that right there. So yeah, that's all the config for that's all the base server stuff for the config in NetherCubeParkour. Next, we're going to go ahead and go over how to set up the time trialing for each track you want, and so on. We're going to go over how to basically set up the time trialing for NetherCubeParkour plugin, and we're going to basically, we already went over the config and stuff, and now we're going to go over time trialing itself. So basically, like I said, there are two different plugins that we're going to need. We're going to need the Parkour admin, the NetherCubeParkour, and we're going to need the CommandRegions plugin. Each of these have their own files that we have to look at. So yeah, we're going to go to plugins, and we're going to put NetherCubeParkour in this tab, and plugins, and CommandRegions on this tab. And so for NetherCubeParkour, we're just going to want the config.yml. And then for CommandRegions, we're going to want the regions.yml. And yes, basically, first, I guess we're going to want to set up the NetherCubeParkour. So if you do /c, it should bring up a GUI with a bunch of different lists of courses. This is the default one, and we'll get to that later. But basically, this is what we're going to use to check to make sure that the course actually was registered. So first, what we're going to do is we're going to go to line 58 on maps, and we're going to basically, oh god, what the heck? We're going to copy this map internal name and duplicate it. And we're going to go over here and paste. I believe you want one line of gap in between. And then, yeah, so there's a bunch of stuff going on here, but really we don't need to do all that much. I'll show first the most important parts. So I guess first we're going to want to have a name. So we're going to name this Julian Coolring, because that's what we're setting up on. Julian Coolring. Alright, and then I guess then you would have the display name, and that would be Julian Coolring. I think, is it Julian Coolring with a space in between, or?
Yep, with
okay.
a space.
Okay. Yeah, you want to keep these and B and L beforehand, or else I believe it will mess things up. And then all you really need after that are the coordinates that you want to spawn at when you do /c. So I guess it would be 146, 64, 245, 146, 64, 245, I believe, and then 146. And then the pitch and yaw, so like where you're looking. So I guess that would be 135 and 20. And then, yeah, and then finally we also have to do, the world has to be correct, especially like if you're using multiverse plugin like we're using here, where you can have multiple different worlds, you have to make sure that the world is correct. So for this one, it's going to be boots running 2. So boots, running 2. And yeah, that's all the mandatory stuff. You can go further and change like the stone to, I don't know. Julian, what block do you think represents this track the best?
Gold blocks.
Gold block, okay. Gold block. And then creator name should be Julian Cool. Those aren't mandatory, those are just whatever, but yeah. And then required checkpoint should be true, by the way. That's another mandatory thing. So now we should do save content. And then, if you actually check now, /c should only have the first default one. But now if we do parkour admin reload, like we did earlier, and we do /c again, it should include Julian Coolring. Okay, yeah, so as you can see, when we go to /c, there's Julian Coolring, and also part of the plugin was actually designed for a public server, and we haven't changed it yet. So basically there was a system for the server that required you to spend in-game currency to attempt the level, and if you finish the level, you actually got more currency as a reward. But we're not using that, so we're going to go ahead and disable that. As you can see on line 99, there's a note that says set to -1, so that is unlocked by default. So we're going to set the purchase cost to -1, and we're just going to go ahead and save content and do parkour admin reload again. And it should.
Oh, /c. Yeah, it's the same.
Okay, got it. Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, so what I just did right there, if you use /c, it should be unlocked by default, but if it isn't, in the case that we just did, we struggled with it, if you right click, it should bring up that GUI that you just showed, and yeah, then you can go ahead and press OK, and it should be fine from there. So now, as you can see, when we left click, we get warped to it, and yeah, so that's half the setup. Then next we have the command regions, which is pretty easy, honestly. Okay, yeah, so basically, in most servers, you should be able to just do CR_give, and that will give you the region selector for command regions. However, if you're like this server and you have a weird plugin like Venture Chat, which has weird commands, you can also just do command regions give, and it should also give you a wand. The wand is changeable in the console by going to, I believe it's config, and then the wand is cookie. You could change cookie to something else if you want something else. I think cookie works. Yeah, and so the region selector is basically the same thing as a world edit wand, where it selects 2 different positions. And that's going to basically select, be the region that we want, right? So we're going to create a region where if anyone enters through this region, it will run a command. So basically, we select position 1 right here, position 2 around here, and we're going to do CR or command region, I guess. Command regions, create, and then we're going to do Julian Coolring start. Okay, and then we just created that region, and we can access that a little bit later on. And then we're going to create another one for end. So we're going to go over here, and we're going to create one right here, and that's going to be create Julian Coolring end. Okay, and then that's 2 of the 3, and the final one is we need to go throughout the track and find somewhere to create a checkpoint so that all players must go through this checkpoint or else their time will not be counted. So, I guess in this case, here would be a good place. We're going to create one right here. So we're going to say position 1, position 2, and CR create Julian Coolring checkpoint. Okay, and that's all we need to do in-game. Now we're going to go over to the console and check the regions.yml thing file. And this should be updated now. And now, as you can see, we have Julian Coolring start, Julian Coolring end, and Julian Coolring checkpoint. And there's a bunch of fancy stuff going on here, but all you really need to look at is the console enter command. So basically, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to enter the following command. So you're going to want to say console enter command is parkour start percentage player percentage, and then the ID of the track. So for this one, it'd be Julian Coolring, and you can check what the ID is for each track by going to /courses. You can see right there under attempts 0 is Julian Coolring. So that's what we put into this, right? And then you do the same thing for end and checkpoint, except for you do parkour stop instead of parkour start for Julian Coolring end. And then for checkpoints, you do parkour checkpoints. And then, yeah. So that's the command regions. And then we're going to do command regions reload. Or generally, you can just do CR reload. But I think, yeah, that's just event chat. So yeah, that should be actually it. I think now we can actually just go ahead and drive through, and it should work. Yep, the timer has started. I'm going to go ahead and do a lap. And right about now, I should get a checkpoint. It won't tell me in game, but it'll read it out in the console. Alright, and then when I reach the end, it says I finished the map in 51.494, and there you go. That is how you set up the NetherCube Parkour plugin. Alright, yeah, so now we're going to actually go over how to create holograms with the NetherCube Parkour, because NetherCube Parkour can actually create holograms showing the top 10 times. So how we're going to do this, I'm a little bit inexperienced at this, but we just did it earlier and it should be fine. So yeah, we're actually at a different track now. We're at Railroad Raceway. And yeah, so we're going to go ahead and go to plugins, NetherCube Parkour config, like we went to earlier. And at line about 51, there is locations, and that's the locations of the holograms. So basically, what you're going to want to do is copy the most recent one or whatever, and then paste it again under it, again here, so it has the same indentation. And then we're going to go ahead and put in the ID name of the track, and we're going to check that with this, and it is called Railroad. So, all right. And then finally, we're going to add the coordinates here of what block you want. Also, like we did earlier in the, I believe, spawn points, you're going to want to add 0.5 to the coordinates. So here, instead of 582.66.103, we'd want to do 582.5.66.103.5. So that's 582.5. 66, and then 103.5. And then finally, we had to learn this the hard way, but you're going to want to add 3 to your y in the coordinate when doing this. So I guess in this case, instead of 66, it'd be 69. Nice. And that will basically make sure that the hologram is set at the right height. Alright, and then we should do a save content, parkour admin reload, and then a holograms reload. Oh wait, oh yeah, so it's parkour admin. We're gonna check help. It should be update leaderboards, actually. Yep, and here it is. That has updated the leaderboards, and we finally have the hologram in the right place. And there you go. That's how you create a hologram. You also have to make sure that you have the holograms plugin installed into your server. I should be able to link the have a link to it in the description. But yeah. Alright, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, just leave a comment. I'm pretty good about getting to the comments quickly and stuff. Or if I don't respond immediately, you can just join the Discord. I'll probably link that in the description as well. And you can just ask a question there. You have permission to ping me, and I'll probably be able to help you out. Alright, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And then I log out, and then I come back. You should see. Oh. It seems I have been banned. Oh. Okay. Let me go unban myself real quick.